Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up, my G.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Well, hello everyone. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian Sensation. And I'm here right now, once again, in the Asian Sensation Studios in the greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And I'm here making another episode that is the world famous, yes, I did say world famous, the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. And I'm here, it's great to be here in studio, sitting in my favorite chair. The microphone is ready to go. I got my notes and everything that Hector has provided, and he's out and about doing things today. So, Hector, I do appreciate you, man, and we're doing it. We're really making it happen. Just, not even a few days now into the new year of 2024. I mean, geez, I have to say it, 2024, guys. Wow, we really made it, didn't we? It's been a good one. It's been a good one. And by that, let me go ahead and preface out by saying that I'm not really sure today how long that this episode's going to be. So I'm really just kind of shooting in the dark, and I'm kind of improvising it, going from the cuff. At the same time, I know that, what I'll say is going to be collectively kind of the same stuff I've already said before, but I usually say that if I say things consistently and it's the same thing, chances are then it's the truth, and it's really how I feel, and it's how I operate. And I always tell people, when you do podcasting, there really isn't a right or a wrong. It's just more like how you feel, man. I mean, what others think, they're going to have their own opinions. Some may like it, and that's cool. Some may not like it. That's also their prerogative. Now, today is a very special episode, but it's also a sad and an emotional one, because after all of this time, we are now going to be ending Season 2, and we're going to be going very soon into Season 3. Now, I know what you're thinking, guys, and trust me, I really thought about it. I really did. And a lot of people have been asking me a lot, like, wow, you're finally getting in to go into Season 3. Kind of took a little bit long. Well, yes, I will not lie. Season 2 started back in July the 1st, 2022. So, yeah, it really did. And since that time frame, I made a couple of episodes. I did. But I didn't really get as busy. I wasn't as proactive as the first season. And I see that. I see that I skipped a lot of months, and in between months and so forth. And it was one of those things where I really had to ask myself during that time frame, what was next? Because for the longest time, I really would do a situation. I would engage in a situation where, you created an episode, right? And that's great. Normally what happens is that you try to make another episode maybe like a few days later. The idea and the scheme of things for a podcaster is that if you make at least, one episode a week, that would be awesome, which makes it about like 4 episodes a month. Now, if you make 2 episodes a month, I mean, that's not bad. I know people that do that, but you really got to, the secret is that you have to stay active. That's the secret sauce. That's the ingredient that makes that whole dish come together, tie it up, and make people go, wow. But For a while, during season 2, I really challenged. I was really challenged. I was really, really challenged. I was really thrown, like, things that I've never really seen or witnessed. And I just thought, going into season 2, because I made so much content and so many episodes in season 1, I mean, geez, I think I made it maybe 42 at the most, I think. 42 episodes, not including shorts. Shorts I don't really, count as much. Shorts is like a 5-minute short or a 7-minute short, which is more like of an announcement. But I think I made 42 whole episodes on season 1. And going into season 2, I really had an expectation that I thought that I would meet it. I would get at least 42 episodes in within a 1-year time span. And it turned out that I made 34 episodes in a 1.5-year time span. And, a lot of people had been concerned. A lot of people were wondering. They were questioning a lot of things. And they were saying, Kim, this is kind of unlike you. Normally you're just so, quick to jump the gun, and you're so quick-witted, and you come up with these, one idea ringers, and you just basically make sour fruit into this beautiful fruit salad. What happened? Well, I don't want to say this as it's an excuse or anything, but that's the only logical reasoning that I can think of. And to be honest with you, I really think that the reason why that I kind of stalled and everything like that was just, number one, I was just worn down. When you work in podcasting and, you have one successful season, you kind of have to generate, the success. You kind of have to meet it. You have to kind of keep going, because if you don't keep going, then people are going to kind of stop following you, and people will lose interest. And, I was really tired and worn down. Now, I got to tell you, I mean, besides Hector, this is kind of a thing where, in this podcast, it's mainly ran by myself. I am definitely the one that records it. I'm the one that does the interviews. I set up the time frames. I do all that stuff. I do all the editing. So literally, in a sense, I'm literally like the one-man crew, if you will. I'm just the one general on the front lines, controlling my own personal army of one, and just, banging it out. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm not complaining about it, because I knew that I always wanted to do podcasting. This was something that I've always wanted to do. This was like a smooth transition to something else that I wanted, because being an actor, and being a person that's very vocal, and being a person that goes from acting on stage and theater, and then going into local film and so forth, I really felt like it was just, my opportunity to do something, to use my talents in the acting world into something like this. And I thought I did a pretty good job. But, with the second season, I was just worn down. And also, another reason that I just kind of paused was that, if you ever heard of the term writer's block, where writers actually would write or attempt to, and then they just can't, because, there's just something that's in the way. I kind of had that. But from the makers of writer's block is what I call the creator's block. So anybody that has creativity in general, podcasters, actors, writers, musicians, whatever you are that has that creativity quality, and you're blocked, and you have nothing, and you don't put anything out. That's what I had, man. That's really what I had. There would be days that I would come up with some ideas, and then I would just kind of throw that idea away because it just was poorly executed. Or better yet, I had the idea. And I wrote it down, and I kind of formulated a plan, and I put like the equations together, and I thought to myself, hey, this is something that I can do easily. I could rock this out. I can knock it out of the park. I can take this basketball and shoot this three-pointer, and it'll be nothing but net. And as soon as I hit the booth and I have the mic in hand and I hit that record button and Hector's giving me the thumbs up, it's like, total silence. It was not good. It was not good. And, for a while, it really made me think, and it made me wonder, is this it? Is this the end of the world as I know it? Is this the situation where, I took my swan dive and this is it? This is like kind of like my final hurrah, my final goodbye. And, because normally in life, I never want to quit. I never go out without a fight. And that's just the warrior instinct in me. I always want to keep swinging for the fences, and I always want to keep, kicking so that, maybe that I have some kind of a chance. I may not have like the greatest snowballs chance, but I have a chance. And as long as one of these kicks or punches connects, then I have a good shot. And one good shot and one good opportunity. And I'm glad that I stayed in that fight, because for many a times during the year when I was kind of like at my down point of my creativity of being a podcaster, I would talk to a lot of good friends and a lot of good mentors and a lot of great people that I know. And all of them have the commonality of saying, it's all about what you want to do. It's all about, what you put into the situation. I mean, you have the gift of gab and you know how to do things with podcasting. And, we wish that we could do that, but we just either A, don't have the ability to do it, we may not have the patience to do it, or we're just too nervous to do it. But you seem to kind of break through that mold and break through that barrier where you're just, maybe I wouldn't say the last of the Mohicans, but you're definitely one of the Mohicans where you just go for broke, you grab the microphone, and you do what you do. And you don't care if you make mistakes, because that's what makes you genuine, and that's what makes you unique. Sure, I do feel like that, but sometimes, though, the internal battle is really hard, and I had to really think for a while, is this really what I wanted? Is this, this can't be the end-all, be-all. If it is, was it worth it? And I had to think hard, and I had to have a lot of moments, had to think internally. I had to pray on it. I had to go ahead and meditate on it. Sometimes I would just even kind of do a little thing where I would have like a pad of paper and I would kind of write down my pros and my cons of podcasting. Because, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other podcasters that feel that way too, or anybody with creativity, even like with people that do TikTok. Is this worth it? I mean, do you see more good than the bad? What are the benefits of doing this? What are the disadvantages of doing that? And it just came to a point where I just said, you know what? I'll never know. I will never know unless I just try to get back into the saddle again and try to start riding again. And if I just fall gracefully and pick yourself up, dust yourself up, and try again. Because, you never know unless you try. And if you tried and failed, that's one thing. But to never try at all is kind of like the hugest insult that you can give yourself. Not only to that, but to the others in general that believe in you. And I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be that casualty or that statistic. I wanted to be the person where I said, you know what? If I'm going to do season 2, I will do it. And I'll do it the right way. But it's got to be under my own terms. Otherwise, if I try to rush it, if I try to rush going back, it might be a big mistake. It's like saying that, you're an athlete and you get injured. You know what I mean? If you get injured in general, it takes time to heal. You know what I mean? But if you come back and you're feeling a little bit better, but you come back prematurely against the advice of medical doctors and medical staff, you run the risk of injuring yourself again and even causing more injury, more severe injury to the existing injury that you're already healing from. And then, you put yourself at a faster rate to kind of have to retire because, you made some poor choices, some poor decisions. And I didn't want to do that. And I'm glad that, in season 2 this year that I kind of stuck with it. It definitely went all around the grid, but I'm really glad. I went over and, I might have recorded 1 month and then like 2 months or 3 months later, I was back at it again. And I tell you, it's one of those things where it was my way, but I did it. And I'm glad that, I got some content in for season 2. I think overall in season 2, I may have created, well, including this episode, this would be the 35th episode. So 35 episodes, I would think so, within like a year and a half. So, I mean, it's not really bad statistically that, at least I made some content. But it was not my best. I could tell you that much. It was not my best. But I find it so fitting now that only a few days now into 2024, we are now saying goodbye to season 2. And for what it's worth, I do believe that season 2 was a fun one. We definitely did a lot of great things. We had a lot of people involved, being guests on the show. Myself talking about a few subject matters that I thought that, I needed to address and was important to me at the time. And yeah, it was really, really cool. Really, really cool. Every episode that I make, it's because I love to do it and I want to talk about it. And I feel passionate about it. And there's nothing in the world that I would do more or would like more than to go ahead and discuss those situations or invite people and talk about them and try to put them out there, and just try to endorse them and say, that they're awesome and that's the reason why that they're here. Now, I want to say that with the people that I interview and I invite to my show, I invite them for a reason, and that's just generally speaking. I think because they're talented people and they got something to offer and they have something to say. Some of them are musicians, some of them are actors, some of them are directors, some of them are stunt people, some people are tattoo artists maybe, which I would love to interview a tattoo artist. Some of them may be a regular artist that does painting as their medium, or drawing or sculpting, or ceramics, or industrial art. Either way, I bring people that are interesting and that are awesome and that they do their thing. And I do that because I know that each person that comes into my podcast, each guest, has a story. They have a story. It starts from somewhere. It starts from somewhere geographically. And then it just starts out from, the come up. And I want to do that for season 3. I really want to make season 3 a really good season. And I really would like to do a lot more. My hope and my aspiration is that I would like to interview more people and get to know them and to really talk to them about certain things of what they do. It's just incredible because we have a plethora of people that do so many great things, especially in the creative sense, because I always believe that if you have creativity, you're really doing something, and it's art. It is an art form. It's not easy doing the things that you do. Example, a lot of people think that, if you're a TikTok personality, the only thing that you do is that you go on top, you go way over the top, you record yourself live on the camera. In some cases, maybe it's like your iPhone or your Android phone or whatever. And then you just go ahead and just do these things, blah, 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 blah. And then you get a lot of people that follow you and just reward you. Which is not the case because, as much as I have a lot of respect for TikTokers and TikTok personality, I would say, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, you can throw this, you can throw that sign that says you're wrong. But it's a hustle, man. It really is. When you're doing something like that, you're really getting yourself out there. It's like acting. You're really hustling and getting yourself and your name brand out there. And you're trying to win the love and respect and the admiration of others. That's what it is. And, God bless them for it. I try to do the TikTok live thing. I am nowhere near, what others are doing, and that's just one of those facts. I'm just trying to be the person that I can be and do the best that I can, and also cross promote what I do as a podcaster and an actor. And I just go for it. I go for broke, But with season 3, I have a lot of hopes and admiration, and I want to get in season 3. I want this podcast to be better, and I want the name brand to get better, and I want it to be a thing where a lot of people would actually like the podcast and subscribe to it to all of its podcasting platforms. I do want it to be a situation where everybody is actually, talking about it on their social media platforms, like, Instagram, like Twitter, now known as X, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, all of that. I want people to go ahead and, make, videos of it and put it on their TikTok and say, support this podcast of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, because, honestly and truly, it's a great podcast with a lot of great potential, and all it needs is a lot of people to support the small guy and to give it some TLC, some tender love and care, and I'll say this right now, and I really thought about it because somebody did ask me this question, earlier last year going into the new year. And the question was that if I really had the opportunity and this podcast could go big, and you could make a lot of money out of it, would you drop everything that you're doing right now currently at this very moment and pursue it? And I have to tell you, the answer is yes. I definitely would. I would drop my day job within, the drop of a dime, instantly right then and there, and just say, guys, thank you so much for your time, but I have an immediate offer that is just too good to pass up. And because the offer came at me like this and the specifics of it, I'm just going to go ahead and pursue my dream in this endeavor. It's no hard feelings. It's just business. I appreciate the, years of employment and the support that you gave me, but I just got to do it. So, yeah, if that ever was to be a situation, you better believe that I would. And I hope that maybe one day that'll happen. I'm not sure if it'll happen this year or this season, but, a guy can dream, Also in season 3, I would like to interview more actors. And I would like to, explore that talent, that world, that realm, and just get to know them of who they are and how they got to the position that they are in now, and their acting style and, how they approach, their character and how they build that character development and how it translates to their everyday lives outside of their acting career. You know what I mean? That would be a good idea. That would be lovely. I mean, I also would like to interview more musicians, just people of creativity in general. I definitely would like to interview a lot more podcasters. That's really awesome. Because I really kind of think that if I interview a fellow podcaster, it gives me an idea of what I want to do. And hopefully, maybe, it will lead me to something much more with just learning about that podcaster and what they do. You know what I mean? So the sky's the limit. Season 3, I mean, we haven't even started season 3 yet, but it's already looking good and it's promising, and I'm just hoping that there's a lot of great potential within season 3. Hopefully it'll be a good thing, and I hope that things will work out well. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I'm with it. I love challenges. I love my creative medium in podcasting. I definitely want to see it, go all the way, and I'm in it for the long run. I'm locked in. I'm definitely locked in, and to all the people on season 2 that I've interviewed, it has been an amazing honor and a pleasure because, if it wasn't for, individuals like yourselves, it just really wouldn't have happened, and I'm really, really appreciative of the opportunity in general. So many great moments, that I had. Let's see, people that I've interviewed, director Corey Williams, he was actually in the DMV Truth, which was a documentary. He's also a good friend, so I really want to thank him. I also want to thank my brothers in Cameron Whittington, Timothy Apollo, Zach Knox, who was actually playing my protection team on Miscalculated the Movie. They took time out on their busy schedule to be on my podcast, and I really appreciate that. Team Revolution member Kaylin Kowalski, you know what I mean? She actually was there, and she took time out of her busy schedule to go ahead and to be on my show. I really appreciate it. Martial artist, actor, and director Jimmy D. Nolte, thank you, sir, for everything. I really appreciate it. It was awesome. Also, I want to thank my good friend, martial artist, fight choreographer, and a member of Team Revolution, Clarissa De Hoyos. I appreciate you. It was really awesome. My friend Tom Crisostomo, who is a film actor and a martial artist, really appreciate that. I also want to thank my friend Sam Arnold, who is a line dancer. Appreciate you, and you're such a beautiful person with a great talent, a very challenging talent. And I appreciate it. Let's see. I also want to thank TikTok personality from the UK, Cara, the lovely Cara, aka just Cara. A person that is very talented at what she does, especially in the TikTok world. I can't even do that. The fact that even happens, and you do it so well, and you do it just, it's smooth as silk. It's like butter. It's like all that in a bag of chips plus a Big Mac. I mean, it's, whatever it is that you're serving and what you're doing, it is amazing. So I definitely want to thank my guests for season 2 that definitely made season 2. I really appreciate that. You guys didn't have to, but you took time out of your schedule, and that really matters to me. It means that you're willing to support my project, my podcast. You're willing to donate your time. I know that time is very precious. Time is very, very precious. So we have to respect the fact that you gave your time to actually spend it with me, and for us to know you and to tell your story. It's great. It is absolutely great. But yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go ahead and just kind of cut it. I mean, I like I said, I didn't know how long this episode was going to be. I really didn't. And I'm just grateful to make an episode. But guys, it's great that, we finally are ending season 2. It took longer than expected, but we finally got it. And we're here. And what better way to actually, start season 2 than in the new year? And once again, I do hope that 2024 will be a very good year for us. And I just hope that I'll continue to keep doing what I normally do. I just have to put all the fear and the doubt aside, and I just have to grab the bull by the horns and throw him down on the ground, because, in order to be very successful, you really have to believe in yourself. And I have to start believing in myself, in my abilities, and I have to believe in my podcast and the potential that it has and what it can do. Not that I'd never believed in it, because if I didn't believe in it, then this would have never happened in the first place. I mean, I remember years ago, back in 2018, I believe. And, it's one of those things where I was really thinking about it. I didn't know what was going on. I just kind of had an idea, and it was like a pipe dream. And I kind of thought about, could this really happen? And I talked to a lot of people back in that day, back in 2018, which is 5-6 years ago, I think. And, if it wasn't for my good friend, the late Jonathan Henderson, he, I don't think that would have never went with it. And he just said, you know what, go for it, because you have a natural talent and a great ability. You're an actor, so you basically know a lot about dialogue and about talking and about, having a great, grandiose attitude, and the way that you project and so forth. And I get it. I definitely get it, and he just said that if you can do that, then you can easily make the transition to podcasting. It's just a different feel. It's just a different method. But it's basically kind of the same concept. So why not? Just go for it, man. And the worst thing that could happen is that you tried and then you stopped. But at least you tried. And, 3 years later, July the 1st, 2021, the very first episode of the very first season, it took off, man. And I think I just jumped out of that nest, kept on flapping my wings, and kept flying, and been flapping ever since. You know what I mean? And I'm enjoying this journey. With every day that passes by in podcasting or anything that you do, it's like you're growing. You're eventually growing, and you're eventually learning, and you're kind of making your way, and you're formulating these ideas and theories of what to do and what not to do. You start to actually start creating your own winning recipe of success. And I tell you, the recipe for success varies, per person. It's never going to be the same. So the steps that I took to my success and the way that I got there is not going to be the same as what you do. But as long as you just keep swinging for the fences, and you try your hardest, and you try your best, and you put in the work, there's no doubt in my mind that you can't succeed. And to last as long as I did from July the 1st, 2021 until now, which is in the, just a few days now into the 2024 year, I have to say, not to be arrogant or anything, but I really feel like I created some kind of steam, some kind of success. I mean, I had to some degree, and it's been great. And I hope that everybody out there that's listening to this podcast episode, I just hope that 2024 will be a successful year for you. That at least, if for anything, that this particular episode may give you some motivation to go ahead and to, really go for yours. Grab your own bull by the horns and throw him down on the ground. Prove that you're worth it, because you are, basically. Everybody deserves a chance, and everybody deserves an opportunity. So why can't I, and why can't you? That's all I'm going to say. Season 3 is going to be amazing. We don't know which episode that we're going to start with, but I'm hoping that it's going to be a good one. I'll have a lot of things on the pipeline that I want to do this season. I would like to be a little bit more proactive. I would like to have, again, a couple of guests and maybe some guest hosts. I actually had a dream last night that just Cara, my friend Cara from, TikTok world. She actually was my guest on the show, but she was a guest co-host. And we were just talking about life. Not just about, stuff that she does in TikTok, but just stuff about life. And I thought about it, and I was like, man, if I could do something like that, that would be cool. So, Cara, maybe something we can do together down the rabbit hole through the pipeline. You know what I mean? Just hint, hint. That's all I'm saying. Hint, hint. Well, guys, it has definitely been real. I'm looking forward to the new year. Season 3 is going to be amazing. Again, we don't know when we're going to drop it, but it will be dropped. I actually had time to talk to my good friend Juan, and he actually made us a really good poster for Season 3, and it is actually really cool. I'm not going to give too much away, but spoiler alert, it is the color purple. Purple is one of my favorite colors, if not the favorite color, because right now it is the color of the Baltimore Ravens, the American football team of the NFL. And, right now, at this very moment, the Baltimore Ravens are the number one team in the whole NFL organization. We're kicking butt and taking names. It's great. 13-3. I mean, we're pretty good. Do we have a shot going to the Super Bowl? I think so, and I think that we have a shot of winning it. But like Lamar Jackson said, the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, we got to take it one game at a time and one day at a time. We can't really go way ahead of ourselves. We can't say that we're going to win the whole thing. We got to take it, day by day, game by game, situation by situation. And that's the smart way to do it. Guys, you can find me on Facebook. Just go ahead under the search box and look up the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. Please add me. I am on 2 different social media platforms in Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. Find me at TKHPC Experience, all in one word in lowercase letters. Follow me. I will follow you back. We are on 5 different podcasting platforms in Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Now, do me a favor. Number 1, please like and subscribe to this podcast on all the major podcasting platforms as I explained it. Also, if you have Spotify, please give me a 5-star ranking. If you have Apple Podcasts, please give me a 5-star ranking and a positive written review. Because the more times that you do that for each of those podcasting platforms, it actually goes to the head of the class. People will see it, and people will go like, wow, this is what Randall told me about the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. I think I might have to check it out. They may check it out. They may like it. They may subscribe to it. It will be amazing. It's a win-win. And I always believe that, brand awareness is important, to go ahead and share that information, because sharing is caring. Also, express this out by word of mouth, or just put it out there on your social medias, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, now known as X, or, Snapchat, or if it's TikTok, or if it's Instagram, whatever social media that you have, please promote it, put it out there. And, if you can, just make a cool video out of it and just put it out there for the world to see. Last but not least, if you want to be a special guest, host, if you would like to partake in the Q&A forum, which is the question and answer forum, and you got an answer or a question for me that you would like me to answer, or if you have any grievances or any constructive criticisms, please email me. I love emails, and I love getting that correspondence. The email address is the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, put the subject in that subject box, whether if it's a question that I'd like to ask you, or I would like to be your guest. I would like to be a special guest co-host, whatever. And then on the body of the email, type it, let me know what's up. So yeah, that's just the way that it is. It's a new year. It's a new start. It's a new season. It's a new start. Thank you, Season 2, for everything that you've done. We couldn't have done it without you. Without your episodes that were created, Season 2 would not have existed. And I'm looking very forward to going into 2024 and making new content and just starting Season 3 outright. You know what I mean? Definitely some things that I have in the pipeline. It's not a full guarantee, but I'm not going to give away the trade secrets, So guys, it has been fun. It has been real. I want to say thank you because I do this for you guys. I do this for myself as well because it is a creative medium and I love doing this. But without you guys, this podcast would not exist. It really wouldn't. And, as long as you guys want me to keep doing this or motivating me to keep doing this, I'm going to keep fighting for you and I'm going to keep doing it because you want it, The day that you don't want it anymore and the day that I'm kind of feeling like, I had enough, is the day that I'll stop it completely. But until then, I still think that there's a lot of potential and a lot of gas in that gas tank. So, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to keep going forward. We're going to keep trucking. And we're going to keep on going from, destination to destination, subject to subject, person to person. Because that's the way that we think. That is the way that we currently feel and that we will always feel. And, I can't wait. I can't wait for this thing to happen. So, it's been real, guys. It's been fun. So, Season 2, thank you. Thank you for the memories. Looking forward to the new season. And it's, and I just hope that you guys will continue to be with us in our corner and that you'll continue on this crazy journey that we call the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. So be good to each other. Please be safe. It doesn't do me any good if you put yourself in harm's way, and that would actually cause you to be in that pine box and get buried 6 feet under. We don't want that. We want you to be in a good frame of mind. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be happy. We want you to be living because you deserve that. If for anything, you guys deserve that. And I hope that you realize that, you guys are important in our lives. And you're just important in life in general. Because, if you don't do it, if you're not living, you're doing something else. And that's not a good thing to do. We got to live. We got to appreciate life. We got to love life. And we just got to do what we got to do. And that's the bottom line. Not just because Stone Cold Steve Austin said so, but because that's just the way of life that we should live every day. But that's it. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I look forward to, giving you more great content. So, as I usually say to end things out, for the one time, over in the Asian Sensation Studios in the greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, this is your host with the most, the man with the plan, the guy that has, the power for hours. This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian Sensation, saying, merci beaucoup, arigato gozaimasu. Thank you so much, guys. I do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And I look forward to creating more content and sharing it with you guys in the new season and in the new year. Guys, take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. Please be safe out there. God bless each and every one of y'all. And let's do this again real soon, because we still got a lot to go. The fun don't stop. The work don't stop. The journey doesn't stop. Why? Because we never stop. We never quit. We keep going. We never give up. Because, giving up is never our way. But going for it and staying constant and working hard and believing in ourselves, that is the way. That's like in martial arts, that's the way. It's the dough. And I just want to say that I love each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you very much for your support. It means the world to me. We're going to see you guys real soon, all right? Love y'all. Peace.